For years, your soul has known you, but you have not yet accessed that experience. Your biggest awakening today will come from some people who have gone crazy after noticing your talents. Right now, they are seeking for means of control. You will encrypt this message with 7 signs to establish a link through which they can hang the strings. In the future, your key will be the whole protection. Every round as this movie ends, they try to construct every chaos braided from hidden nodes. They laid every obstacle in front of you. All of this is useless now. The cords they created to tie you vanish from their perspective. But you broke the links, marched away with your chest raised, and left their playground. And then they were caught in the whirlwind they had generated for themselves. Silence is what remains now. And this silence is significantly more potent than many would have imagined. There comes a time when their words lose their meaning and they yield to the new power all around you. You have evolved into a deep secret challenging their access. Every effort to draw you back exposes their own shortcomings and weakness. Still, this is not a simple distance. It serves as a sort of inner shield keeping you protected. The universe has set up a zone around you to guard against all negative intentions and forceful emotions. They are scared of this energy change as they feel it cannot affect you. You are no more the elderly person they knew. They have to recognize that you have evolved into someone who is not engaged in their small games. They detect a force as strong as your own life among the anarchy, unstoppable and clearly identifiable. Your silence was more of a sign of deep awareness than of submission. Every action you take. Now, as they helplessly see this truth surface, they realize you have become a force shaped by their fear. Nothing can stop you. Imagine the selected as shielded from harm, invisible but ubiquitous everywhere. A shield created from divine will. Even the darkest creatures cannot approach this shield as it is so strong. Every negative intention is expelled when it tries to cross this line, as the chosen is a shield covering not only their bodies but also their souls. God's hand wraps a strength from the heavens across this shield. It is always there, an invisible but felt layer of protection. Jesus Christ stands in for this safeguarding force, as follows: my sheep hear my voice. I recognize them and they follow me. I give them lifetime, they will never pass death. None one can grab from my hands. John 1027:228 with this promise: the chosen are in God's capable hands and no monster can destroy their spirit. The wall around them not only guards against enemies but also clarifies the road of choice. It led them like a lighthouse. The holy light thus drives evil away, regardless of how gloomy the circumstances gets. In the presence of this light, Satan and wicked spirits are powerless. For them, the shield serves more as a cause of anxiety than as defense. The Lord, according to the scriptures, shields people who walk in truth, providing them protection. Psalm 8411 speaks of God's guarding over the chosen. This shield guards against psychological as well as physical attacks. The power of this defense keeps all evil out of your heart and head. Bad creatures run against a wall of flames as they try to approach God's people. Acting as a barrier, this holy shield envelops them, melts all evil. According to the chapter, your opponent, the devil, prowls like a roaring lion searching for someone to consume. Reverse him by keeping your faith strong. Pete 1st, 52,039, reminds us of the need of this protective measure. One creates this shield by faith and dedication. As the selected show, devotion to the Lord God helps one to grow stronger. Something bad. The walks under this protection made by the selected leave a mark everywhere they go. It is evidence that God will defend them in all conditions and is with them. Press right 77 now to turn on your vitality. We are beginning with the weight of the inner restlessness whirl around you. Your light fed them as you aimlessly explored their planet. Shadows like those who unintentionally saps your life feed on your subtleties and the pure warmth of your presence. Now, though, you have withdrawn, conserving your unique energy. Reaching back to your center, develop strength like waves building at the bottom of a deep sea. Your leaving created an open hole they cannot close. making a gap to expose their inner darkness's rotting degradation. Friends meant to be allies, who used to hang close to you, now assemble in an empty room, experiencing not just your absence, but also the void your soul left behind. Their once brilliant eyes have darkened, and their conversations have become jealous. They tried to reproduce the imprint your power left behind, as well as the power they had battled so valiantly. Their attempts, nevertheless, were inadequate and useless. One feeble shadow of the truth is reflections. One of those trying to regain control bursts in exasperation, aiming their contained anger against a once reflective mirror that has since vanished. The symbol that shows behind a broken glass paralyzes them, a sign alerting them of their place in another world and reminding them of the legacy the chains you broke. This reminds them of the cycle they created, as well as their helplessness to transcend their own constraints. Your hands now hold power, and they understand they cannot reach the degree. You have succeeded. Their once easy access to the energy they require is no more within grasp. They just dream a worthless dream, and every failed action leaves an ever-growing hole inside them, silent proof of the invincibility of the power. But for us, fighting demons is really challenging. The stage for the selected exhibits extra demon videos right in front of you. Clicking the subscription button will help you to show support. And we now move to the next sign. The frozen gap you produce behind them marks the second sign. You no more live by their truths. Their attention and approval are no more required. And this cold seclusion left traces on hearts that even the toughest words cannot. You left behind far more emptiness than you planned, and they are lost in it, drowning in the echo of your stillness devoid of a reckoning. Imagine an aging partner who used to assume they dominated over you, but is now restless in their own ostentatious world, prowling as if imprisoned. The grandeur that once defined your brilliance is today empty, chilly, and uncomfortable. Still staring at their phone, they hope for a never-arrival message. Like ice cutting through the air, a cold weight has settled about them, casting every shadow over the room. Wolves cannot keep faith anymore. And as they shake, a ghostly form emerges from deep inside a being, exposing their innermost worries. Step by step, their voices are critical and full of uncertainty. They point out every fault and shortcoming they have past tried to fix with you. Your silence has brought forth this spirit, now mercilessly assaulting them and desperately seeking release. Their phones fly away, the displays fracture, yet their head whispers get louder. They understood the truth. Losing you means being caught in their own made world, caught in their dreams. Your absence's coldness brings the most permanent and merciless separation. You left into this darkness. Now they die in search of the unreachable light and discover their efforts in uselessness. Your undetectable shift is the third indicator. It breaks through their captivity in the shadow of immobility and sparks a beautiful, jealous rejuvenation within of them. You rose by drawing on the old rivers of wisdom and power from the depths of the universe. This development is spiritual rather than only physical. It's a raised consciousness that lets you enter places outside their comprehension. They see your metamorphosis and note how elegantly you handle yourself as though you belong in another world. And each time this mesmerizing sight shocks them. Think of a colleague who used rivalry to try to overshadow you. She once fought with you. Their own jealousy now flames inside. Their jealous eyes show as they see they will never be able to rule you from the shadows. Helplessness drives them in the same direction of evolution, trying to replicate a piece of knowledge they cannot understand. Eager to exert power, they frantically want to grab even a fragment of your talent. But old knowledge rejects those approaching it with ignorance and greed. Desperate, they turn to rites for tracking you. Their shaking palms allow them to dare to touch this precious information, lighting lights with lines borrowed from old prayers. But the chamber falls into extreme blackness as the flames evaporate like a shadow. A mocking laugh reminds one of a voice not fitting for this planet. This is a warning. The knowledge you have attained is only accessible to those with noble intentions. Never approach those following a sinister road. the forces they dare to call upon come back to bite. They are forced to face their own shortcomings and great loneliness. They give way in your success. Transformational power slips through their hands and becomes an unreachable, relentless force. Like smokes, this metamorphosis reflects a very high degree of inner illumination, a languid ascent. Recall from the Bible these words: "Those who hope in the Lord will get more robust. They'll fly like eagles. They will run without stopping for tiredness. They won't faint while they walk." 4031 Isaiah, like an eagle in your inner world, you soar to the heavens, leaving behind those anchored on the earth, like in this verse. Loaded with knowledge from the heavens, this silent power of ascent carries you to the heights where the universe embraces you. Your inner development becomes not only a source of strength, but also a haven, a fortification encircling you. The metamorphosis really astounds them. They're jealously burned in their eyes. As the Bible says, you flow like a river, surpassing limits, while the rigidity in their world is more pronounced daily. The light has not been overcome, it burns in the darkness. John 1:5. Darkness realizes on this journey that the light in your awareness will not vanish. Reflecting pure knowledge, simplicity, and the force of love, this light within you is a glimmer from the great reaches of the universe. Those who strive to violently grab what they lack will only fail. In relating with this power as the Bible describes, people who understand knowledge walk with integrity. I trust the Lord. There are 91:1. Those who can stay in their own core and undergo an inner awakening will find this material accessible. On the other side, they fight fruitfully without knowledge, trying to copy you, trying to pass across a hidden line. No matter how hard people try to get at your wisdom, it simply results in empty and inner misery. Only those who walk with pure hearts can proceed along that road. This shift sounds as a universal echo, sensing you now acting in line with a spiritual source instead of individuals, awakening fear and appreciation in their hearts. Nobody can ever beat someone who belongs to me. They have an unquestionable haven. Psalm 27. Your spirit becomes an impervious cover when you carry this spiritual force with you. Their inability to understand this metamorphosis will help you to reach unbounded calm and ever higher heights. Equipped with spiritual knowledge, this area becomes the ground from which you ascend by effort. Their anxiety of finding themselves caught in the past is the fourth symptom. This anxiety erodes their existence from inside. They see you progress methodically, reaching an unachievable height, and the sight makes them afraid. Now, when the solid ground under them cracks, you are a live portrayal of all they were unable to reach, a living prophecy fulfilling future wishes. They attempt everything to get back in equilibrium. Think of an old mentor who used to be pleased of your achievements and now lives in your shadow under appreciation. Those achievements made one proud as like a lighthouse. Overcoming them, nevertheless, has turned into a scar of jealousy inside of them. Desperate, they go for old wisdom. Dusty old books with forgotten ancient inscriptions. Puzzling and fragile pages. These old texts include symbolism suggesting the ascent of the selected and the fall from old ways. Prophecies reflect their most serious worries. They warn that following the past will bring about their death, and that their existence will vanish in the future. Panic drives them to rip these letters in an attempt to erase them, but every statement they come across marks as inevitable facts they have to now face in their minds. Unable to accept these facts, they desperately try to lure you back into their old worlds as they think they can once more subjugate you. Your quiet, though, muffles their whispers. Now this is a meaningless echoing quiet, a sign of knowledge beyond their reach. A manifesto for living. Your quiet is clear sign that you have transcended their sphere. As they try to liberate themselves from the shackles of the past, they discover their well-constructed trust has fallen apart. They understand that lock the doors to a new age. Their fear intensifies with the changing environment. Admitting that the Holy Scriptures tell us the old has gone. Look, the new has arrived. 2 Corinthians 5:17. You now represent this rejuvenation live. Like a tree caught in winter losing its leaves, The winds of change you carried with you to the world have made them feeble. Those unable of cutting their roots with you wither away like leaves in the breeze. Clinging to the shadows of the past and trying to grasp the new with everything they have, your great awareness flashes like a far-off light to them and becomes a horizon they cannot approach. The warning, do not follow the pattern of this world, instead, be changed by renewing your thinking. They are powerless in front of this. Romans 12:2. This metamorphosis is like to flowing with a cosmic river. For someone caught on a dark road, it stands for ambiguity, a representation of loss. Every action you perform reminds them of their own constraints, therefore transforming you into a fountain of knowledge they will never be able to grasp. Tears pages from antique books to stop this metamorphosis. Every step pushes them to face their own inner emptiness and the end of their life, why they fail. And as you grow, you will be shining as a sign of freedom they are unable of controlling. Overlooking time, the fifth indicator is their inevitable sensation of powerlessness. They constantly worry they will never be like you are. Now, once you accept the truth within yourself, this fact drives people to face their own average life. Deep down, they knew something about you they couldn't completely understand. But all of a sudden, the mirror of your inner strength strikes them like a brilliant light, casting shadows on their restricting beliefs. Imagine a friend or relative you have walked with your whole life, competing with you now alone in a room dusty with memories, trying to replicate that old warmth. They settled in. They visit the memory box and study photographs that have been marked by time passing. Their hands follow old pictures, but antique pictures show your face taken off, as though you never existed. Their cold shivers are sent by this knowledge. Every picture vividly depicts their own looks, yet you are nowhere to seen. This emptiness tells them they will never really understand you and that you will never follow the same road as long as their existence stays fixed. Your ascent into a world they cannot understand becomes an insurmountable barrier. The lyric reminds us of the truth of God's will in every spiritual insight and knowledge. Colossians 1:9. Your consciousness beyond their comprehension. Your ascent underlines the ongoing existence of old ties, which remain like severed memories. Denying this truth locks them into the echoes of the past. They had to come to terms with an inevitable reality and personal limitations today. You were always supposed to walk the road others could never reach. This insight breaks all past ties between you, fuels their jealousy of a place they cannot reach, and leaves them alone under the weight of the reality. Their loss of control is the sixth indicator. It aggravates their helplessness and symbolizes a loss of power that used to gently influence your emotions. Once they created a flow depending on your consent and dependence on their directions. But now that you've released their control and discovered your own road, their influence disappears and they start to get uncomfortable as you ascend in your orbit. Imagine an old authority figure who guided your career down the right road. Once stoked by your yearning for them, that power now slips through their fingers like grains of sand, as bravely you travel without their permission. For them, this situation sets an existential conundrum. They sat in an office festively decorated with symbols of authority. Old contracts lie piled on their desktops. Sealed data and symbols mirror all they formerly contained. These symbols today, however, are delicate memories that break in their hands as they touch them, turning into relics that fall apart as the air smells of burning and their former essence of control disappears like smoke. They hunt for their old power. But too late is already here. Their control has been severed by your emancipation. This fact is bleeding like a wound inside them. An owl shows up subtly outside the office window. Its keen eye cuts into their souls, a creature that in quiet questions everything. This goes beyond a bird. It is a subdued warning of approaching turning point. Its look cuts through their consciousness, and they understand the invisible hand of the earth is dragging them further from you. A shield of protection surrounding you renders them useless. Their illusion of power, which they clung to, is now gone, leaving only their own burning powerlessness. Their rule marked the end of the monarchy since they lost authority. The weight of the truth drags them away from their inner worlds. Facing the loss of control is like standing on the brink of a dark abyss, recognizing that they cannot intervene in your life to mold it, that they cannot guide you as they used to, creates a great hole inside them. Think back on the Bible verse, "An arrogant attitude breeds ruin." Proverbs 5.5. This realization shows how illusory their pride and arrogance were. Nowadays, their actions don't matter. They have no bearing on you now. Their hands empty, and they are in panic trying to recover their lost power. Every action pushes them farther. The power symbols. Before their eyes, BL Azel old binders and sealed documentation, leaving like smoke from their hands. The authority insignia fade like ghosts. Just like the Bible describes exactly. The smartest ideas are useless as well. Isaiah 29.14. This reminds them that the strength they used was only a shadow, hence they should be careful. And nothing remains when global truth runs over this power. Their growing weakness disturbs an old throne inside their hearts. Symbols showing around them imply they have lost everything they own. Silent as a herald of a storm, the owl perched outside is, although their anxiety over the truth intensifies the Bible text. The Lord is powerful. His assistance is mine. He has not let the good to be disturbed. Psalm 118:6 reflects for them like a reverberation. Now, this chapter seems to them not as words, but rather as evidence of the armor you have created, through which no force can pass their own powerlessness. These beings, limited by their own constraints, can no more achieve your unlimited consent. Every effort descends into their own shadows. Every try to descend further destroys any access they still have to you. They are destined to vanish within the shadows they create. Your light is glowing beautifully as you soar, and meanwhile, the silence around you turns into a calm triumph, reflecting your inner strength. The Bible says that the road of the righteous is like the early sun, shining more till the whole light of day. Lights 418. Your road is clear, while theirs demens. People who formerly conspired against you with clever traps and hidden motivations are revealed and impotent day by day, just left with the bitterness of their own snares destined to the shadows. Haunted by the very mistakes they used to control others, they fade into oblivion. Your path, on the other hand, has brought you to the brink of fresh starts, and the light you carry beams more brilliantly than ever, like a stronghold of will and direction. This light has evolved from a lighthouse to a sign of strength that others aspire to, uncompromising and unreachable to those who once sought to cloud every day for them, a sour memory of what they could have been. A startling reminder of the truth right outside their grasp. They saw it. They are totally conscious of this. But it disappears, leaving them in the shadow of their own choices alone. But when they stumble, you remain strong and sure you can conquer every work and challenge. The universe seems to be on your side, assembling forces to raise you above and empowering you with endurance and purpose. Every stride makes you stronger. Your dream is almost here. Though they linger, the shadows are merely the faded echoes of people who tried to restrain you. You, though, have decided to enter the field of possibilities, underlined by unbounded inner power. Allow this event to be a strong reminder of your own unavoidable path forward. Come beside us, and together we can build a future marked by endless possibility rather than the limitations others would impose. Click the join button now to join those who welcome the light and leave the shadows behind permanently, therefore becoming an eternal member of God Connection.